I'm Brienne Moody, and I'm going to show you how I work German short rows. Um, I've often heard people ask which type of short row is best. That will depend on your project, but mostly I say use the short row technique that you can remember the best, and that technique should work for most projects. I think the German short row technique works well for shaping necklines and for shaping shoulders on a drop shoulder sweater. I also use this technique in my Brienne cardigan to shape the front of the cardigan and also to tip the pockets. So I'm going to show you how to work this short row technique starting on the wrong side. In your pattern, it will say to work to a certain number of stitches before the end. Let's work to 4 stitches before the end. So we'll purl up to 4 stitches before the end. Okay, now I've reached 4 stitches before the end, and then the instructions will say to turn your work. So just notice here that you're always knitting from right to left as a right-handed knitter, and so your working yarn is on the right-hand side. When we turn, the working yarn is going to be on the left-hand side temporarily. First move always when you're working the German short row is to bring your yarn to the front. Then we're going to slip the first stitch on the left needle to the right hand needle as if to purl. So I'm going to go in through the front of that stitch and slip it. Now we'll do what's called the double stitch. It'll be abbreviated as DS in your pattern. To do that, I pull up, and that creates this two-legged stitch, the double stitch. And then I'm going to knit to the end. So I'm going to keep my yarn back and knit to the end. We'll work 3 of these short rows so you can see how the fabric builds up. This yarn is from Hedgehog Fibers, and I can't remember off the top of my head what the type of yarn is called, but it's really fun. Okay, so we're at the end of the row. Let's turn and let's work to 3 stitches before the gap that we just created by the double stitch. So that gap is here. So we're going to purl, and I'm going to count that double stitch as 1 stitch, even though it has the 2 legs. Almost there. All right, let's see. I'm going to count the double stitch as one of those stitches. So 1, 2, 3. I have to work 1 more stitch. Okay, then the directions will say to turn your work. Remember, I want to bring the yarn forward. And then the next step is to slip that stitch as if to purl. Then we're going to create the double stitch by pulling up. You don't want to just reef on it, but you do want to lift it up to create those 2 legs, and then knit to the end. I actually think these are a little easier to work on starting from the wrong side. We'll do that next. Okay, let's make 1 more double stitch or 1 more short row. So again, I'm going to work up to 3 stitches before the gap. And you can see these gaps forming that are created by the double stitch. Don't worry, we're going to close those up. This German short row technique, I think, is relatively invisible and easy to work, easy to remember. Okay. So working up to 3 stitches before the last short row. I'm counting the double stitch as one of those stitches. So you can see here the 2 legs, 1, 2, 3. Okay, then I'm going to turn my work, bring the yarn forward, slip the first stitch as if to purl, and then let's create that double stitch, that DS, and knit to the end. Now to resolve these stitches, all you have to do is work them together. We'll get to that, but do you see how this wedge is forming? And you can imagine this works well at a shoulder seam. Since our shoulders are sloped, would be where your neck would be, and this is where your shoulder would be, the point of edge of your shoulder. So this works well on the shoulders of sweaters. I use it in the Brienne cardigan because this line then tips the pocket ribbing a little bit forward, which is a nice way to put your hand in. And then I also use this technique on the backs, like the back of a neck of a sweater, but in that case, it's more curved. Okay, let's go resolve these. So I'm gonna turn my work. And when I get to the double stitch, which are pretty easy to see, good idea to spread your work out just to take a look. See, it's here, and it's here. I'm gonna work those stitches together. In this case, I'm going to purl those stitches together. So here I am, and just got to get under both legs of that double stitch and purl it together. Let's do that again. So purl up to the next one. And you want to work both of these legs together. It can be a little tricky to get underneath, but it works. And let's just flip it over and see how it's looking on the right side. See? It's practically invisible. Okay, let's keep going. Here's the last double stitch. Let's work those legs together. And let's finish this row, and then let's go take a look and see if those gaps went away. Just make sure the gaps went away. The gaps created by the double stitch. Okay, so all the double stitches are worked. And here is the right side of the fabric, getting that nice wedge from the extra fabric we built up. And I don't see any gaps. That looks nice. So that's the German short row worked from the wrong side. In the next video, I'll show you how to work them from the right side.